I'm Samantha Wood. I'm the Senior Field Organizer at the National Alliance to End Homelessness. I worked 7 years at the Haven, which is located in Charlottesville, Virginia, as a wrap rehousing case manager and program manager there. Interacting with clients is the most important part of being a case manager, and making sure that you're continually communicating with your client. So depending on the stage of their housing, depended on how often I would connect with them. So if someone was newly enrolled, newly housed, I would make sure I saw them at minimal weekly. And that would entail me coming to wherever they were staying, whether it was outside or in one of our emergency shelters. I would meet with them where they were so they wouldn't have to always come to the office. And that's where we would talk about, their housing plan, what goals they wanted to work on, what kind of place they wanted to live in. And then I would work with our housing navigator, who would then take them around and show them the housing options. And once our client secured housing, I would make home visits once a week, making sure they had all the supplies they needed, making sure that the building was up to code. If there were any repairs that needed to be made, we would communicate that with the landlord. And also just making sure if there are any other problems, like guests that may be there that shouldn't be. I had to have many conversations with my clients about their landlords threatening to evict them because of having their friends stay, which was understandable, because if you have a home and your friends are outside, you feel guilty, right? So you want to make sure that they have a place to stay, which is having those tough conversations of, well, if you keep your friends in your home, you may lose your housing as well. And so I would always try to meet my clients where it was most convenient for them. And if they were newly housed, I would meet with them weekly, because that's a huge transition. And then if they were housed for 6 months or more, I would see them usually every other week or once a month. It was kind of a weaning off process, because eventually they wouldn't be with me anymore. And then if they've been housed for a year or more, I'd see them monthly. But I always made sure to check with them monthly, and I always made sure to go to their house. Respecting their work time, I would often sometimes change my schedule around. If I knew they worked nights or they worked weekends, I would try to accommodate their needs so that they wouldn't have to try to take off work, because the most important thing was for them to keep their housing. And if that meant making sure that they worked or whatever they needed to do during the day, I would try to rearrange my schedule. The one thing about being a case manager, especially in the homeless response field, is just understanding that there's no difference between you and your client. So I always made sure that my clients understood that I never judged them. There's a lot of things you end up doing when you are homeless that you never thought you would have done. That's what my clients tell me all the time. And so I tell them, well, everything you tell me is confidential. I'm not going to judge you because I've never been homeless, so I have no right to judge you. So just keeping in mind that your client is dealing with a lot of things, and homelessness is probably one of the worst things that could ever happen to a human being. And they may have done things that they normally would have never done. That doesn't mean that they're a bad person. That doesn't mean that there should be any judgment based on what they've had to do to survive. And so just don't see yourself on a higher pedestal. You're their equal. There's no difference between you and them.